guys, welcome back. As always, this is Crow, and today we're going to be working on a new tutorial series on creating custom tracks. For a brief overview on the project, we're building a track called Dixie Derby. It's a destruction derby slash dirt track racing track, and we're going to be starting with objects today, and then throughout this month, we're going to be releasing more and more as we progress with the project. So here we have a list of tools we're going to need to do just the objects. And now keep in mind, this is just creating the objects and then replacing them over like vanilla courses so that we know that they work. We'll get into the actual specifics of getting the objects to work in a custom track once we get to that point. But for this, I'm going to be using Blender for the 3D modeling. We're using a plugin called Blend, and what that does is it allows us to import a .bmd, the visual models for Double Dash, directly into Blender without doing any sort of conversions. We're going to be using Dolphin Emulator to actually play the edited game. GameCube file tools we're going to use to rip the models, look at what's called previews of the model, that kind of thing, and then also patch back into the game so that we can test it. Some form of Photoshop. I use 3D Paint. If you know Photoshop, you're going to be better off than I am. I use Rio Studio for some previews of the models, but it's a really good tool to learn for a bunch of other stuff. So we're going to be seeing some of this later down the line. Super BMD we're going to use to rip data from the existing visual model and then convert it back to the BMD format. So let's get into it. First and foremost, we're going to do a little bit of setup. Today we're going to be doing a crusher type object over the thwomp, so it's going to act just like the thwomp, it's just going to look different. So we'll go in and find a thwomp in our game. So this is GameCube File Tools. You're going to import your vanilla ISO, open up your course file, and then I'm going to pull the thwomp from browser. And this is named Cooper. Open that object, and then this should be our thwomp. So I will take and export all of the files related to the thwomp. That way we have it in future. File, objects, crusher. And then I'm actually going to put all of the animation files into a completed folder just so that we're not okay. Now, once we have those, we can get out of here for now. We're going to be editing this one. So first and foremost, we're going to rip it apart using Super BMD. You'll open up your file where you have your Super BMD executable, and then you can actually take this and then drop it directly on there, and that is going to rip apart our file, give us all the textures and various information we're going to use to convert it back. I have a shortcut on my desktop. It just helps me because it's a bit quicker, but you don't need to do that. So from here, I usually like to delete all my bitmaps just so it's not cluttering my file. One, one. So this has 3 different textures. We will also take and make a blank Blender file. Now keep in mind, this is not a tutorial on Blender, so I'm just going to make my model real quick and then I will show you how to uh, make it take the place of the vanilla model. But we need to first import our BMD. This is the Blend plugin. You'll have to have that installed for this to work properly. Should show up. And then I'm going to build a model real quick that's going to take the same sort of footprint, because even if we edit the model and it's bigger, its hitbox isn't going to change, so we have to make sure it fits pretty closely with the existing model. So let me do that and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back and here's what we got. Just a very simple spiky model, and then compared to this, you can see that it's a very similar footprint. Okay, so to actually combine the two models, I like to take this, go into edit mode, grab it, and move it to the side just so it's out of the way. Now from here, we can select the object that we're keeping, shift click our vanilla object, and then we'll do Control J to join the two guys together. One thing we do have to do before we join them together is actually rename our UV map to be UV space 0, so that when they combine them, we don't lose our UV mapping like you saw just a second ago. Control J, those are joined together, so now it's one object. We then have to go into our vertex groups and then make sure everything is assigned properly. So if we had more than one group, we would assign it to the corresponding one that would look correct. I'll show you with the Goomba in a little bit, but those are joined. Now I get to just select all and then assign it to this group. From there, we can take and just delete everything of the vanilla model. And then we have to do a little bit of texture work. So our texture, we have to rename it to work for our vanilla textures, but in this case we can just overwrite this. So we can go in here, delete the texture it was trying to use, rename our texture this name. That way it's still trying to use our vanilla naming scheme. That way it doesn't confuse Super BMD when we convert it back. Open. Awesome. Awesome one. And then we are back to normal. So then we can take all of this and assign it to our vanilla texture. Remove our extra texture, and then we are almost done with our Blender stuff. We do have to rename this skeleton underscore root, and then make sure we don't have any floating geometry. So we can go select all, mesh, clean up, delete loose. We were good. And then we also want to select by trait, vertex mode, select by trait, and then this will select any ungrouped vertices just to double check and make sure everything has been assigned to a vertex group. Here's a quick look at a Goomba and its vertex groups so that you understand what it means with different ones. So we have a root bone, we have a head, we have a leg, an ankle, and then vice versa on the other side. So that's what it means to assign your groups similar to the vanilla one. I go into a little bit more detail on this in the character tutorial, which characters and objects are very similar in terms of their creation. So if you want to get most of the finer points, that's more of a longer form video that you can take a look at, and it should help you with all the other stuff that I may miss in this video. Okay, so we will take this, and I am going to export DAE. You can export FBX. It works just as well. You just have to make sure if you're doing FBX, you turn off leaf bones. We are going to export and overwrite our existing vanilla DAE that Super BMD spit out when we converted the file. One thing to note, we may have to take this object and rotate it 90 degrees on the x-axis, but we'll see once we convert it. We're going to check the preview. Okay. From here, we're going to make a bat file, and this is going to tell Super BMD how we're going to convert this. So the first portion of this file is the path to our Super BMD executable. The second is a path to the DAE or FBX we are converting. The next portion is the output, name of the BMD. This will be the materials JSON that Super BMD exported that says how to apply the materials. And then this is the text headers that shows which materials it has, and then bitmaps and that kind of thing. So once we've edited all that to be proper for the model we're converting, or in your case, probably creating a new bat file like this, and to create a bat file on Windows, all you have to do is take a text file, put this in it, and then rename it .bat, and it should work fine. Okay. We are not using bitmaps for this model. You can if you want. You just have to create smaller and smaller versions of these images until they hit 8x8 or 8 by whatever. As long as we have one that is an 8, then you're golden as far as that goes. But I am going to copy 2 more of those and replace these textures. Now with that done, we have to go into our text headers. I'm using Visual Studio to edit this, but you can edit JSON files with a load of different tools. And to clear MIP mapping, all we have to do is change all occurrences of mid-map linear, delete that, and then get rid of this max load 4. And put that on 0 on every single one of our textures. Save that, and then we should be good to convert just by double-clicking our bat file. Version complete, and then now if we preview this with Ria Studio or GameCube File Tools, we should see our model. Now our model here is sideways, so we are going to have to take and rotate it properly inside here, and then this is just rotated -x 90 degrees. We're going to Control A to apply all transforms or rotation, and then we can export again, overwrite this file, and convert once again. And then this should give us a properly orientated model. And then we can actually put it in game right now and see if she works. Now, something to note as far as objects and characters go, is it uses these 3 textures to it animates them. So in terms of the thwomp, the face changes. In terms of characters, the faces will change in various different situations. Don't need that. If we take a look at our BTP, which should be our faces, this is the animation editor, J3D animation editor. You may or may not have to use this, but it shows that for 5 frames of duration, it uses the 0 texture, the 1 texture, and the 2 texture, and that corresponds to our 0, 1, and 2 here. So if you want to actually get rid of those and only use the 1 image, you can just take this and put 0, 0, 0. You still have to keep the animation file itself because it is required, otherwise the game will crash. But that will make the size of your model smaller because it doesn't have to have, 3 copies of the same texture. Just something to keep note of. Okay. Okay, so from here, we can put it in game and then test it. So we will get our GameCube File Tools back up. We will take and replace this file with our new one. Just make sure that's right. And then we can actually test our BCK just to make sure it is in the proper up-down formation. This BCK is just the wiggling animation. The actual up-down is handled, I believe it's hard-coded, but it is handled separately from here. But you can do that just to make sure all of your bones and your vertex groups were actually assigned properly. Sometimes when you use blend, you'll import the model and the bones will be messed up, so you may have to do it a time or 2. But this way you can check it, make sure everything's golden. But that is replaced. We can now replace our ARC file, export the game, and we'll do test 1. And then once that's done loading, we can run our test. Okay, for this one, I'm probably going to open it in a two-player mode because I'm not sure if you actually get thwomps on time trial. And there is our custom model. Okay. Good and working. So from here, we can actually talk about a few other objects and the various things that are required to make them work. We already talked a little bit about the Goombas, but each and every object has its a few quirks. For instance, if we take a look at this bomb car, this is a custom cart I'm again making for this project. So you should see me add all these in once we get to that point. But the bomb car has a particle effect right here. So you have to make sure when you create something like this, the position that that is in relation to the other one is the same. And you also have to think about hitboxes. What else? In terms of this one, the armored car, it is using the bus that looks very similar to this, or the truck. And those have three different textures that aren't necessarily animated, but when you put them in the ball, the .bol, that's the file that says, hey, this is the route this object's going to follow, this is where this object is, so on and so forth, as well as a bunch of other stuff. But you can select which color you want it to be. So you have to make sure you keep those colors when you actually convert it. Or again, do the same thing where you copy the same texture over so that the game can use it and doesn't look for something that doesn't exist and inevitably crash. So that should be everything in terms of creating the objects and getting them tested in game. If you need any help or you're running into specific crashes, you can always ask for help on the Discord server. A link to that is in the wiki. But if you ever need help with anything, feel free to reach out in the video or on Discord is the best place to reach me. Thanks for watching. I hope that helped with getting you started in this series. And then I look forward to seeing y'all in the very near future while we complete this. I'm looking to get everything done within this month. That way, there's a competition going on right now in parallel to these video series. So hopefully it helps everybody in this competition and competitions moving forward, or just individuals that want to get started making Double Dash courses. So, thanks for watching. Y'all have a great day.